And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Welcome to Odd Reality Radio, the show designed to generate thought through entertainment. Join us as we explore the strange and unexplained, the unanswered and the unbelievable on Odd Reality Radio.
An error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it.
Welcome to Odd Reality Radio. I'm Ty West, and today we have an interesting show for you, to say the least. But first of all, we'd like to introduce the newest member of the Odd Reality Radio crew, Cory Lee, who is actually the video tech for the Parawest Research Team, which is the research group that I run, and he's also the co-founder of that. So, not to mention, he's a friend of mine and has been for how many years? What, 14 years now? Maybe even more. I don't know. I forget how to count after 10. I've only got that many fingers. But happy as hell to have you along.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be here. Excited.
So this, for being your first episode, we actually had quite a gem, didn't we?
Yeah.
We sat down and discussed time travel with, one of the experts of the field, if there is such a thing, a man who claims to have experienced it and wrote a manual that pretty much details his experiences in time travel and how it works. We sat and discussed when he believes we will begin traveling through time, and it's a whole lot sooner than I expected.
Yeah, me too.
We also are going to talk about future weapons, which I was really glad that he elaborated a little bit on. I'm not going to go into too much now because it's really worth checking out.
We don't want to give anything away.
He ended up discussing his visit to ancient China, which was a rather interesting tale. He mentioned that he has actually interacted with our current president. I found that rather interesting too, so, but what do you say we get into the episode? On November 2nd, 2000, a person calling themselves Time Travel Zero, and later John Titor, started posting on a public forum that he was a time traveler from the year 2036. On March 21st, 2001, John Titor told us he would be leaving our timeline and returning to 2036. After that, he was not heard again until recently.
I do want to preface this a little bit.
Okay.
I would like to say that over the years, and I've sat on Facebook for a few, people have tried to attack me. And, they say, if you Google my name, you'll say, confirmed hoax, John Titor. And it's very aggravating to me that when you follow the link out, there's no server there. Or there's this one individual, Paul Dale Roberts, that tried to bash me, and he really couldn't. And it's unfortunate that the message that I try to present is technically correct and the truth. But it's so difficult overcoming these people just want to bash you. I wasn't going to release this document, the manual. And if you look at the date, what's the date say on the manual?
It was June 25th, 2035.
And what document number do you have?
37.
Yeah. And this document, is not in this timeline. And I purposely released this one because nobody can say anything about it. It's in the future, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's a fascinating document, and I really appreciate you sending it over to us.
Okay. We're dealing with, at this particular moment in time, with an unparalleled event that happened in Winnipeg, Lake Winnipeg, Canada. And they had a UFO crash. It was a large UFO. And they had plenty of witnesses that saw it crash. And then the Canadian military went around telling people to give us the photos, and you didn't see anything. It's right out of the Roswell playbook.
And wasn't that recently?
Very recently. And I posted about it on my Facebook page, 177 Time Travel Division.
Right.
And other people have got postings about it all over the internet. But what's so significant about this is that not one word was said by any of the major news media anywhere. A total news blackout, except on the internet, which I find fascinating.
Absolutely. It seems to be the way things go for legitimately interesting news.
It's the scenario always is that, and after Roswell, there was another crash in Mexico, and the Mexican army went to get this UFO, and they all died.
Interesting.
And they don't know why. And then the American army showed up and hauled it away. We never to be seen again. But this one in Lake Winnipeg, what will happen is it will go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and then possibly Area 51.
Okay. Interesting. Now, when was the 177th Time Travel Division established? Was it in 2035, or was it before that even?
Before that, I would give an exact date. We're looking at probably in the not too distant future, about 5 years from now.
Fascinating.
You'll see it.
You'll
see it happen. And what will happen is the Department of Defense will basically get an appropriation to conduct temporal testing, and that's how it will be in the they'll call it something close, and suddenly funding for millions of dollars will not be seen again.
So when was so in the next 5 years, you say this will all be probably coming to fruition. Now, Is that when the first mission will be carried out, or will it be shortly after that?
I would say that will be probably around the first mission. And I discuss on my website, there's 3 different ways to do time travel. And Dr. Michio Kaku wrote a white paper. And I had the white paper and I've lost it. But he absolutely said how to do it with quantum mechanics, and he was correct. And it was all tested out and works. But the other way that it happens, there's an anomaly within the gravitational fields of this planet. And Bruce Gernon encountered what we call electronic fog. And he was traveling from some island off the east coast of Florida. And what happened was, when flying through the electronic fog, he actually arrived sooner at his destination than he should have. And they checked the fuel in his tanks and everything, and the instruments, and they all confirmed that he had gained some time. So it occurs naturally. But that's not the only incident of it, and it occurs naturally.
Now,
and he was well within the limits of what we call the Bermuda Triangle.
That's what actually, that was going to be my question. I was going to say, is that what we would consider the Bermuda Triangle or the Devil's Triangle, or those anomalies around the world?
The Bermuda Triangle, and there's a triangle that's off the southeast coast of Japan, too, that they say has those same properties. And in that area, they have found an underwater city all out of stone. And they're still trying to figure that one out.
Incredible.
But one of the things you have to understand is that a lot of the ancient cities that were on coasts are underwater now, because our planet continues to have global warming and the seas are rising. So, it's going to happen. And when people talk about there's no such thing as global warming, I just have to say, look at the geology and look at the seas and the level of the seas as they are now.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I noticed that you are the author of this operations manual. Does that also mean that you are the mission commander?
I've had that title.
Oh, okay. So
I don't.
You're no longer the mission commander?
No.
Okay, interesting. When you were mission commander, how did you decide recruitment? Is that something that you're still involved with, or how does recruitment work?
If you look at the manual, you'll see that they were looking for people that were extremely fit and that knew martial arts, were proficient with small arms, and those things all came to play. They were looking for people with above average intelligence that had some survival skills. These people had to be willing to be chipped.
And what's the importance of the chip?
The chip is everything. If you're on a mission, it's how you get retrieved and located. The chip was made by a company called Positive ID. They're around now. They're traded on the NASDAQ under PSID. And it's a penny stock. Great buy for you.
Interesting. Awesome. Thank you for the heads up there.
It's a penny stock, and it's called Positive ID, yes. And so once you're chipped, it works with the RTTD, Return Time Travel Device. You see that in there?
Yeah.
And that device looks like an Android cell phone.
And that would probably be the way that you contact mission control while on a mission? Or is that something that is not necessarily possible due to the timeline separation?
The way that it works is there's a window, and if you're at the place where for embarkation, either going or coming, if you're at the right place at the right time, and you're holding on to the RTDD, you will be retrieved. In the case where you've lost the RTDD, you can't get back that way. And in the worst case scenario, they will send another team to get you. And the first team is a retrieval team, and they will go to where you were sent and look for you. Okay?
Yeah.
If they can't find you after a designated amount of time, by agreement, somebody else will go and get you. And it'll be a great alien team. They'll come and get you.
Now, with the retrieval teams, I remember reading something about a proficiency in training with some Tesla weapons. Can you elaborate on that at all? The Tesla weaponry?
If you go out and Google today, coil weapons or gauss guns, G-A-U-S-S, or coil guns, you will find that because there was such a clampdown on firearm using powder and primer and a lead bullet, that they clamped down so hard that what happened was a whole new gamut of weaponry came to play. And the coil weapons on fully automatic, right now, they're about as capable as a .22 caliber rifle.
Okay.
And they will become more powerful over time. And what will be adopted is a Tesla pistol, Tesla rifle, and then they have a heavy weapon, the Tesla 1000.
Is that something that can be manned? Is it something that a single soldier could carry around, or is it something that you need multiple people to operate? The T-1000.
I would compare it to what the old 50 caliber machine gun looks like.
Okay.
And they can be mounted in pairs, or it can go on a tripod. And it's very effective, very lethal. And if you look up, I think I even had some on my Facebook page, these gauze guns. And there's one in particular, the guy is shooting at a laptop, and he just blows it all apart.
That's incredible.
And the projectile is all metal. There's no primer, there's no gunpowder in it. So it'll just come, and ATF will not know what to do, and they'll get all stymied in Washington again, and so ATF will be dissolved at some point. And the manufacturers of these weapons, you will not be able to control because it's all electronic components. But Tesla will come up with a battery that will have high capacity and be easy to recharge in the field, and it'll come out of an outgrowth of the automobile that they manufacture now.
Okay, yeah, so Tesla Autos is going to contribute to the batteries?
Yeah, they'll hit its discovery, and so I'll probably just make the Tesla stock go nuts here for a while.
Excellent. So, can you tell us about what year you were actually born?
I don't reveal too much of that.
Oh, that's just fine.
And I will tell you that when you travel in time, your body still ages, no matter what you do. There's no way to stop it.
Okay.
You can prolong life, and I will tell you that I'm very old, and I suffer with lots of diseases, and I take a whole battery of pills every day to stay alive. I get excellent medical care in this timeline, probably part of the reason I stay right where I'm at. I live off-grid. I don't have anything in my name. I do have an ID card that has my name on it. And that's pretty much it.
Now, John, the manual states that the primary mission is to protect the timeline. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Yes. Well, if you could go back in time, there are sometimes things you could have, and it would be a little piece of intelligence that might go a long way. Let's say that you went back in time to November 22nd, 1963, and you were standing on the grassy knoll when John F. Kennedy drove by, and you distinctly saw people shooting at him from the grassy knoll, and that there was no one shooting at him from the Texas School Book Depository. How about that one? Would you go with that?
Yeah, I think I could go with that.
Absolutely.
The other thing that you could do, I mean, there's things you can observe, there's things you can try to prevent. Let's say you knew that someone was going to try to launch a nuclear weapon against the United States. You might be able to thwart that effort. Team members have something that Al Jazeera compromised not too long ago during the Iraqi War. A soldier was videotaped wearing a suit that made him virtually invisible. But it was a dusty day, and Al Jazeera got the photo.
That's incredible.
So do we have the Cloak of Invisibility? Yeah. It's kind of crazy. But I think I even have a little film clip of it on my Facebook page.
Yeah, actually, I think I have seen that. That is pretty incredible.
So you'll see it there. It's all about bending light waves, and we learned how to do it. The United States is militarily way ahead of the rest of the world because we get black technology. Let me explain to you what black technology is very quickly here. Black technology is the species or the barter that we do with extraterrestrials. They give us technology that pushes us way ahead. Propulsion systems,
circuit boards,
craft. We were headed in that direction, but there's other technologies that they give us that will probably make in a few years you won't see much of a printed circuit board anymore.
That's fascinating.
So I'm telling you about the future, I'm telling you about the past. What is the furthest in the past that I went to? That would be 221 BC.
Wow.
And I went there with a team, and I went there in the company of two great aliens. and we went to China. And we basically did something with the first King, who Qin, I believe it was, and he became the first emperor of China.
Okay.
And that's the furthest back in time anyone's ever come.
That's incredible.
Now, I would say that people ask me about the future, and I would say that our big issue will be that we have 2-3 generations of young Muslims that are taught in Wahhabis, and they're taught to hate the West, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, anybody that's a non-believer. And they are taught that if you kill us, you get to go to paradise. Make no mistake about it. We live on an engineered planet. We live in an engineered solar system. The fact that we have a moon, it's very important to the species that live on this planet. If we did not have a moon, life would not have evolved as it did. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about evolution here in a minute. The solar system is engineered very early on in this planet's life. Humanoids, two-legged, upright apes, were gene spliced with the genes of the Anunnaki. And so they can account for a substantial part of the DNA in all of us. And it's directly attributable to the Anunnaki. But they were not the only ones that attempted to colonize this planet. There were several other extraterrestrial species that tried to. And there's even stories in ancient China of aliens attempting to live and interact with the indigenous people in China. And ultimately, the indigenous people killed them. And I talk about the Dropas in China. And the Laladeath plate, look at the Laladeath plate, about 12,000 years old. And it will tell you a lot just by looking at it. But the big thing that it's like a well-kept secret. In China, there are pyramids. And there's one, the Xi'an White Pyramid. It's 1,000 feet high.
Incredible.
The first emperor of China is buried in a pyramid. And because of the way that he had his mausoleum built, the ground is contaminated with mercury. You remember the terracotta soldiers?
Yes.
That's where it came from. But look on my website. I talk about pyramids, and I think they're very important. And a lot of people don't know there are pyramids in Antarctica. And
yeah, I've heard that. I'd like to see a couple of photos if we ever get a chance.
I have some photos on Facebook on my page. It's interesting. I had someone go on a cruise to Antarctica just recently. And did they get to set foot on Antarctica? No, they got to cruise by it. And so I said, "Did you see the pyramid?" And they said, "Yes." There are, you just look at the pictures and know they've been there for tens of thousands of years.
That's incredible. Now,
so
The Greys appear to play a really big part in the preservation of the timelines. Can you explain why the Greys are helping us? What's their purpose for helping us?
Well, let's look at the manual. Do you see the picture of the Greys standing there shaking hands with who?
Hitler, of all people.
Yeah, and they always dispute this picture. And to the best of my knowledge, it's accurate. There was a crash in 1936 in Bavaria, and great aliens were at the crash site, and the Germans were smart enough almost immediately to understand that this species had intelligence and technology that surpassed theirs. And at some point during World War II, the Greys came to understand that the Germans were exterminating Jews. Are you following me on this?
Yes.
And I believe that the Greys were instrumental in bringing a close to the war. It's not available to me. I've heard this, that they communicated with the Allies and helped the Allies. I do know that General Eisenhower, after the war, observed demonstrations by extraterrestrials of their military capability. So, the Greys at Roswell, in the FBI report, there were 3 Greys to each of the aircraft, and there were 3. And the document sitting on my Facebook page under the 177th Time Travel Division, it's there. And one of the Greys communicated using telepathy. And
Interesting.
He lived for quite a while. And I think it was John Forstall actually had met him. He was Secretary of the Navy or Defense, I forget. And shortly after Forstall met him, he committed suicide. But the alien died in our care, and we tried to keep him alive and do everything we can. There was someone that basically communicated with him right up till he died using telepathy. Telepathy is something I've used, and the first time that I used telepathy, I was a little flabbergasted, but I understood that it could happen, and I communicated with someone, and
Another human being or a Grey?
Oh, I'm going to elaborate on this a little bit for you, is that this person was, I'm about 6'2", and they were equal in height. And they just walked up to me and they started using telepathy. And I looked straight in his eyes and I understood everything he was saying. And then when we had completed our communication, I thought to myself that he might have been a shapeshifter, a Grey alien that can actually shift shape to whatever he wants.
Interesting.
So, like, I want to talk about Grey aliens here, and I want to say that we, as the indigenous people on the planet, do not have a great reputation. We make war a lot. We kill people for religion or, because they're different from us. What we did to the American Indians was a question that I had brought up to me by a Grey alien once. They asked what happened to Native American Indians. I said, "Oh, they're still with us," but the next line was, "Isn't this their land?" Well,
right.
From there, I have to couch things diplomatically with them, but you cannot lie to them. They'll know when you're lying, when you're telling the truth, and always be friendly with them. There was an incident on a military reservation where someone basically did something offensive with a weapon, and they paid the price. And the Greys don't carry weapons, but I will tell you that they meet justice very swiftly. When they are shown any kind of threat, imminent, they will take steps, and you will pay the price. Let's see, cattle mutilations. They do it to check on the food chain. I believe that they continue to monitor us as a species. It happens on the 37th parallel on this planet, mostly in the United States, and government turns a blind eye to it. But the cuts of the animal tell the tale that we're the ones doing it. Abductions. I want to talk about abductions. Are not supposed to occur per se. The best abductions that are documented, Betty and Barney Hill.
Right.
Most certainly, I believe that one. And then the one that I absolutely believe is Travis Walton. Travis Walton happened in 1976. He was abducted and returned. And
yeah, a short time after his abduction, right? Wasn't it about a week?
I think it was a couple of weeks. He was gone for a little while. And they were all polygraphed, and the local sheriff, state police, and they were all ready to prosecute the people he was with for murder.
That's right.
And it almost got to that point, and then he was found. And Travis Walton has come out, and he speaks at conventions and things, along with another gentleman that was in charge of the crew that day, because they were just cutting lumber on a government contract. So all these things, like if you have 100 people in the room and you ask how many people believe in UFOs, at least half the people are going to raise their hands. And then the other half is going to think that half is crazy. Okay? And the government does a very good job of debunking everything. And on my Facebook page, 177 Time Travel Division, I talk about the astronauts and that once they're done with their military careers, they have all said they've seen them, pretty much.
That's right.
Significantly, Gordon Cooper wrote a letter to the United Nations saying that he'd seen a UFO when he was the commander at Edwards Air Force Base. He was the base commander. Story Musgrave, Edgar Mitchell, they've seen him. And the Greys, they come in different heights. I've seen them 5.5 feet tall up to about 8. They seem to be a hive species. When I tried to inquire more about them, I didn't get anywhere.
Interesting.
I believe that the Anunnaki, at some point, went head-to-head with them. I don't know more than that. I don't know if the Anunnaki created that, gray aliens. I suspected that for a long time, but I could never confirm it. The Anunnaki were interested in gold, and we were created. They created what we call the Adama to mine gold for them. And these people were giants, 8 feet tall, 9 feet tall. And there are giants all over the planet. And it's not in the history books for a lot of the remains of giants found in the United States. There were remains of giants found in a cave in Lovelock, Nevada.
That's
and
right.
These skeletons are not really presented to the public. There's a museum in Lovelock, Nevada, and you can inspect the skeletons. But the main thing was that they were red-haired giants.
Now, isn't the legend that the giants were actually stripping the local tribe of some of their population to cannibalize them, and then the population of the local natives ended up pushing them into the caves and smoking them out until they eventually died?
I had heard that they competed for the same food sources.
Oh, okay.
And they were different, so the Indians killed them off. So, mankind has a propensity to do that. We will kill what is different, what we don't like or what we don't accept. Race and religion. If you look on my Facebook page, and you'll see there's a wall there at Tiwanaku, okay? And the great alien head is there among the races. And in Egypt, on very ancient drawings and bas relief, you will see pictures of great aliens. And I think there's some of the manual.
Yeah, there was a few.
And I think that I even talked about the Zeta Reticulans and the planet it's supposedly based on. It's, like all this, it's not in ministry books. And I think that, everybody's attuned to God created man in his image. Well, that may not be. If you want to define God to be someone that can create a solar system, planets, and life, you've got a God. But does he, is he interested in the Ten Commandments? I don't know that. I'm always a little skeptical about people that say they talk to God and we have to do this now, we have to do that now.
Right. Kind of more of a fear-based program than a love-based program, which is truly what I would see a God in, at least in my interpretation of it.
What we really need to acknowledge is that you can control the masses through fear. Fear of the afterlife. You're going to go straight to hell for that. I would have to say we all need to search for the facts and come to a realization. But time travel, absolutely. Can everybody do it? No, because we create chaos and probably a cataclysmic event in gravitational waves, and it can be a bad thing for everybody.
Absolutely.
Time travel is documented in the Bible. I don't recall the specific circumstances. A child goes out to an orchard in Palestine and comes back 7 or 8 years later, unchanged. But
that's incredible.
So it's always been here. UFOs use time travel. It's all part of it. I think I talked about it in the manual. Space-time gravity. Gravity is the key to everything. It just has to be researched. Einstein was consumed, I think, for a while with the Einstein-Rosen bridge. Stephen Hawking, for almost a decade, was consumed with research into time travel. I believe that I've communicated with Stephen Hawking's secretary on the subject of time travel.
Interesting. And what did he have to say, or his secretary?
It's a one-way conversation.
I can imagine.
It's like you can't talk directly to Stephen anymore, but you could tell the secretary information, and things go up, but they don't come back. It's a one-way thing. It's not as big a out of the realm thing as people think. We knew, and Einstein knew it very well. Space travel would also create temporal time anomalies. A person leaving out of the Earth's gravitational pull and comes back, he will come back younger than if he'd stayed on Earth. It's a scientific fact.
Yeah, that is an interesting fact for sure. Now, according to the operations manual, the Gray's spacecraft have defensive weapons very similar to the Tesla death ray weaponry. Was this the result of Tesla learning from them, or was it a vice versa situation?
Tesla came up with the death ray about 1947. And when he died, he lived at the Astoria, the Waldorf Astoria in New York.
Right.
And the plans for the death ray were immediately confiscated by the government. And Tesla kept telling Department of Defense then that this weapon would reduce casualties and bring a substantial quicker close to war. And Tesla had suffered bad press and had enemies. One of Tesla's biggest enemies was
Thomas Edison?
Edison, yes. And Edison was into direct current, and Tesla was alternating current. And Tesla was brilliant, light years ahead of everybody. But
absolutely.
Did not get the recognition he deserved.
Absolutely. I feel like now we're kind of promoting him more than we ever have in this day and age, or in this specific timeline. Right now we have more movies and more media and more fascination, even video games about Tesla, and there's more interest in Tesla now than there ever was before. Do you think that this is one of the things that's contributing to why we will see the 177th established in the near future?
I think that we're taking a harder look at the technology that he proposed and wanted to use. He didn't want to do power lines strung everywhere. And there are some issues with power lines strung everywhere. And I don't want to go into that, but I would say that he had other ideas for the transmission of electrical current. And the people are starting to look at that now and say, that might not have been such a bad idea after all. I think that I do release some things about the future in the manual, and not the least of which is the Tesla weaponry, which is very effective. But if you look on my website, you'll see the beginnings of the coil guns, the Gauss guns. They keep clamping down on firearms, and people start thinking, there's got to be another way to do this. So I would say, in another 20, 30 years, firearms will become like the bow and arrow.
Interesting.
And the ATF will, not be able to regulate firearms. I guess that they'll have alcohol and tobacco, right?
Yeah.
And I don't, like, in the future, people will not use tobacco. And people using, at this timeline, vapor will come to understand that that can be just as bad for you as tobacco. I will say that you'll see in the future people using drugs more, but qualifications for work will be that you're drug-free.
So unemployment is going up in the future.
I think that young people in school will be told, you have a choice. Do you want to work and have a family and raise children and be a productive member of society, or do you want to, end up on the street someplace looking for your next fix? It's that simple.
Interesting.
Young people, what they're told, and how to grow up. So much of a child, I think, is what they're instilled with in the formative years before reaching 18.
Now, reading through the manual, I noticed that there was a section about immunizations due to the different diseases or illnesses or viruses throughout the different timelines. Is there anything about the future that we can prepare for that may help us help ourselves within that specific area with healthcare or diseases or anything that we may benefit from?
I will say that at some point in the future, somebody's going to sit down and say that healthcare in America was a profit center. And therefore, sometimes people didn't receive the right treatment. They only received treatment that perpetuated their disease, not cure it. So you'll have to chew on that one a little bit. It comes down to the drug companies and them selling drugs, okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
The cure for HIV is known. Will they present the cure to the general population and say, here, take this pill and you won't get it? Or take this, it's vaccination and you won't get it? Will they do that? Or, like the amount of money that the drug companies that make drugs to combat HIV, they make a fortune.
Absolutely.
So you have to look at it from that perspective. Can they cure diabetes? Oh yeah. It can be cured. But if you're taking a pill every day, then the drug companies are happy.
Absolutely.
We're a for-profit society. Even our politics, and this will come to in the future, people will realize that we are in a for-profit society right now. You have a 2% to 1% of the population, the very rich, and in the future there'll be two classes of people, the very rich and the very poor. There'll be no middle class left.
Interesting and terrifying all at the same time.
So I've told you the terrifying truth, haven't I?
Absolutely. Now, with mention of the Middle East and all that turmoil going on there, and specifically with ISIS, is that something that we should be as concerned as the news media claims that we should be? Or is it something that's going to fizzle out on its own?
No. Well, what's going to happen with ISIS is they will... it's a gathering storm. And over time, young people that believe that they should be busy killing the infidel and be more like jihad, John, will increase. And they will get their hands on advanced weaponry. It's very, more than possible they will get their hands on nuclear weapons. It's not out of the realm of possibility. The Taliban are constantly trying to get to that point in Pakistan. And the Iranians continue to try to perfect nuclear weapons. The unfortunate reality is, if Israel would be attacked with a nuclear weapon from wherever, whoever launched it has about 6 to 8 minutes to pray to Allah, because the Israelis have about 400 nuclear weapons, and their nuclear deterrent is also submarine-based, and they hit the target. So we need to take that age-old the Arabs against the Jews very seriously.
Interesting.
And it's going to get worse.
Now, with religion in mind, is there anything in the future that unifies any of that, or is it still kind of the main fuel for most wars, with the exception of oil, or at least as the surface?
I think it's mostly, we're the infidel to the Muslim world. It's a big issue, and they're taught this at a very young age. They start to school, about the same time that children in this country start to school. So it's all in what they're taught. And in Japan, prior to World War II, you had an absolute feudal system. You had your military, and they were at the top of the food chain, and then there was the emperor. And everyone owed their existence to the military and the emperor. And this was a country bent on war and making war on the United States that they deemed to be an inferior species. And they paid a price. The Germans paid a price. But history has a way of repeating itself. If ISIS continues to grow and the current President of the United States continues to do as little as he does, I suspect that in another decade, we will have much to deal with. Will we be able to beat them? Yes.
Do you think that has anything to do with the amount of firearms possession here in America? I mean, I'm admittedly I'm a firearms owner, and proudly so. I'm just curious, and on that note, also within the Tesla weaponry in the future, is that something that the public is going to be able to access, or like you said, is it something that's just not regulated at all? So there's not going to be permits or anything, licensing.
Well, Obama just came out in the last couple of days and said that he was going to ban ammunition for the AR-15, which would be the 5.56 military ball, or the Remington 223, I believe. You can't make that happen. People reload. The AR-15, you could own it, and you could have made it yourself from a blind, right?
Absolutely. Completely legal to do that if you make it from the ground up.
So I think that millions of Americans have done that.
Smart ones, if you ask me.
I have communicated with the White House in the past, I will tell you that. And I communicated with President Obama, oh yes. And there was something that happened. And I will tell you what it was. and I was very upset about it. The first was something called Benghazi, and that would fall back to Hillary Clinton. And I was upset about the IRS and their inability to tell the truth, and Veterans Administration, the VA, all these things on his watch. I basically supported him, tried to help him, provided him with intelligence. I told him that flight MH370 landed in Iran intact. All the people on board were dead. I told him that. I told MI6, I told the Mossad, some other people that I told.
That's fascinating, and nobody did anything with that information that you know of, or at least that we can tell.
The military in Iran is out of control. They would use that plane as a platform to fly a bomb at somebody. By using the plane, what you would do is you go in commercial traffic lanes and you would fly behind another flight. You'd fly a little higher than it and behind it, and directly behind it too. And you would only appear as one blip on the radar. Nobody knows this. I've explained it to them several times. So that's the easiest way to deliver a nuclear device to New York, Miami, London, Paris. You pick.
Fascinating and terrifying again, all at the same time. Well, thank you again, John. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to sit down and talk with us about your adventures throughout time. If you'd be interested, we'd love to catch up in the future. I mean, I don't know, obviously, what your schedule looks like and with everything that you've been doing. Now, you mentioned with your health, are you staying in our timeline indefinitely, or...
Right now I am forced to. I will tell you that I have a degenerative disease, and I will hold on to my feet. I've been operated on, and I've had a whole series of operations. In the last decade, I had my arm pulled out of the socket. I was blinded in one eye, and that was very scary for me. I had one eye left, but they were able to restore sight in that eye.
Was this a result of the time travel?
Very scary. And I had abdominal surgery and then surgery on my feet. So I got lots of little scars on my body.
It sounds like it.
Perfectly out of my left eye.
Now, was this all a result of the time travel experience, or is this just, things that have happened within those experiences themselves?
The feet is just a degenerative disease I'm faced with. The arm and the eye happened in a conflict, and it was a horrific incident. I was with a team, and most of the team died. I managed to survive, but not well. But I live in this timeline.
That's fascinating.
I live with a woman, and we've discussed doing other things or going to other timelines, and she wants to stay right here. So here we are. The doctors tell me I have about another 15 years at best of life. Quality of life, I'm not so sure of.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you find comfort within at least those 15, if not 15 beyond that. And once again, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, John. if you would be interested, we'd love to maybe catch up in the near future and see how things are, and maybe sit down for another interview if everything is going well.
We can do that. All you have to do is send me a message, and then I will schedule some time for you.
Excellent.
How's that?
Sounds great.
I will think that the hijacking of MH370 was absolutely preserving the timeline. If you tell people what to do ahead of time, they'll do it. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
All right.
Excellent.
So you have a good day, and when you want to get together again, you let me know.
Absolutely. Thanks again, John.
Yeah, thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Alrighty, take care.
Bye-bye.
How about that for your first interview here on Odd Reality Radio? We had the one and only John Titor.
Yeah, he had a lot of information.
It was interesting information, nonetheless. I wish I could verify a lot more of it than I feel like I'll be able to, but one of the things that really stuck out to me was that MH370 comment at the very end.
Yeah, that was
a good one. I really wish that we could know more about that, and I hope that we find out more so that we can verify some of this if it is true. Another thing that I found really interesting was those Tesla weapons.
The gauze guns?
Yes. Yeah. Didn't you look those up?
I looked at a couple pictures and
is it a real thing?
It looks like a real thing.
So did they describe it all in even general terms on how these things work or how they claim to work?
They use some sort of energy with magnets to shoot a bullet instead of powder and primers.
Interesting. That's incredible because it sounds not only plausible, but not that far out of reach right now.
Yeah, something you could possibly one day make it home.
Yeah. Well, and like he said, it sounds like the ATF, if it does become manufacturable at home, they may
disappear
if we become a completely electronic, weaponized society, which is it's a terrifying thing to think about in itself. But I think as far as destruction goes, it's all a matter of how much we allow to happen, not so much how much is already happening. We just need to do more about standing up and for ourselves and for our neighbors and for complete strangers who don't deserve ass whoopings I see them getting. YouTube videos don't need to be promoted on people getting beat up. That kind of stuff
makes me sick.
Yeah, it's completely unnecessary, and it serves no purpose. So I just wanted to say thanks again, Cory, for taking some time out of your schedule to come and record an interview with me and the Odd Reality audience. I'm sure they appreciate having you here to add some colorful commentary to what I'm trying to stumble through.
Yeah, I hope we can do it again sometime.
Dude, we're going to be doing a lot more interviews. This year's going to be the interview year for Odd Reality Radio. I think there's going to be some interesting ones that I wasn't expecting to get, but I've already actually gotten confirmation from these individuals, and I think John Titor was a really nice way to start that off.
Yeah, I agree. I hope we can have him on again.
Yeah.
There's a lot I didn't get to ask him.
Oh, I think that there's a lot that a lot of people want to ask him. Oh, and I wanted to include, before I forget, if anybody wants a copy of that manual, send an email to info@oddrealityradio.com. Let me know that you just want the manual. Just put Titor manual in the subject line, and I will send you a PDF copy of the time travel manual. He has agreed for me to distribute it to those who seriously want to have a copy. So if you want a PDF of that, once again, it's info@oddrealityradio.com. And until next time, continue to investigate life through the lens of possibility. I'm Ty West.
I'm Cory Lee.
Take care.